I remember the first time I thought Dad was invincible. I was 8, sprawled on the living room floor, trying to assemble a model airplane while he sipped his coffee, wearing that smug smile that made him look untouchable. "Daniel," he said, leaning over the couch. "Stop fumbling like that. You'll break it." "I'm trying, Dad," I said, my fingers trembling around the tiny pieces. He chuckled, a little too sharp. "Trying isn't enough. You need to focus. Everything in life comes down to focus." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat, but I felt proud too. He was teaching me, guiding me, or so I thought. Later, I realized it wasn't guidance. It was control. I've spent years thinking I was doing the right thing. Supporting him, covering his debts, helping with bills when he had one too many business setbacks. Every time he smiled at me, I believed I mattered. Every compliment, every brief moment of warmth cemented my loyalty. Aunt Lisa was the one who warned me. "Danny, he doesn't appreciate what you're doing," she'd said over tea last summer. "You've been carrying him for years." "Lisa, he's my father," I said. "Of course I'll support him. That's what sons do." "Sometimes sons need to support themselves first," she replied gently, but I didn't hear it then. I was too caught up in the idea that loyalty was worth everything. Kevin, my best friend, always knew the cracks were there. "Man, he's a piece of work," he said once, after a long night of drinks. "But you got to stop letting him walk over you." "I can't," I confessed, staring at the bar. "It's Dad. I owe him." Kevin sighed. "You owe him nothing. Don't you see? He's taking you for granted." Even then, I laughed it off. I wanted to believe him, but I also wanted to believe Dad was different, better than everyone else. I recall the summer before college when I took out a loan to pay for his hospital bills. Mom was gone then, disappeared when I was 16, leaving only a note in the drawer. "Take care of him, Daniel." I did. I paid the bills, kept the apartment running, made sure he had groceries, even when I barely had enough for myself. He never thanked me, not really. But sometimes, late at night, I'd catch that fleeting look in his eyes, like pride, and I'd convince myself that he appreciated it. "Daniel," he'd bark suddenly, pulling me out of my memories. "Did you finish those forms?" I was about to, Dad." I stammered, holding the papers like they were made of glass. He leaned back, shaking his head. "You always leave things to the last second. That's why you're never going to get ahead." I swallowed hard. That familiar twist of disappointment in his voice, I'd known it since childhood. The first time he called me lazy in front of my friends, I felt my stomach turn, but I held my head high. I wanted him to be proud. I still do. At Aunt Lisa's house, I'd occasionally escape this suffocating pressure. "You've got to stop letting him dictate your life, Danny," she said again, softer this time, as if repeating it enough might make it true. "I can't," I whispered, and she reached across the table to squeeze my hand. "I know," she said, "but just notice. Watch. Pay attention to yourself, too." That was advice I didn't follow. Not yet. I was too busy trying to prove my worth. Even Kevin, the one who could see everything, couldn't reach me sometimes. "You're too loyal," he said once, shaking his head. "You think loyalty fixes people. It doesn't." And maybe he was right. Maybe loyalty is a dangerous thing when it's unreciprocated. I remember sitting in the dim glow of my apartment one night, staring at my phone. A message from Dad. "Don't forget to deposit the money into my account. I have a meeting tomorrow. No thanks, no please, nothing personal. Just orders." And I did it. Every time. I wonder now if he even noticed the sacrifices I made. The nights I stayed awake, counting every penny to make sure he never went without. The jobs I took on, the overtime, the extra hours just to ensure he could keep his lifestyle, his pride, his illusions. It's hard to reconcile my love for him with the weight of what he demanded. But I still try, still hope. Because beneath all that arrogance, I want to believe he's the man I called father. The one who taught me to tie my shoes, the one who cheered me on at my first baseball game, the one who once smiled at me and made me feel invincible. And yet, I can feel the cracks. Every cutting remark, every dismissive comment, every small smirk when I falter, it all tells me a truth I've been avoiding. Even now, I can hear his voice. Sharp, proud, unyielding. The man I called father. The man I still want to believe in. But the first cracks have appeared, and I don't know if they'll ever heal. Happy birthday, Danny! Kevin shouted, raising his glass across the small restaurant table. Everyone cheered, and, for a moment, I felt that warm bubble of happiness I'd been craving. Thanks, I said, smiling nervously. I glanced around at the people I'd invited, coworkers, a few friends, and my dad. Dad sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, his usual smirk playing at the corner of his lips. You invited them all just for me? I joked, trying to lighten the mood. Dad snorted. I wouldn't say that. Some of these people are here because they pity you. The words hit me like a punch. I laughed awkwardly, forcing a smile. Pity me? Come on, Dad. No, really, he said, leaning forward, eyes sharp. You've achieved nothing. No promotions, no recognition, no real accomplishments. You're lucky anyone even bothers showing up tonight. The table went silent. Kevin choked on his drink, while a few of my coworkers shifted uncomfortably. I felt my face heat up, but I couldn't find my voice. Dad, that's not fair, I said finally, trying to keep my tone steady. I work hard. I've done my best. Your best? He barked, pointing a finger at me. Your best is pathetic. You're still living under my roof, still relying on me for advice, money, everything. You call that hard work? I opened my mouth to respond, but the words stuck in my throat. Everyone was staring now, their eyes flicking between me and him, waiting for me to crumble. And I did in a way. Inside, I felt that familiar ache of inadequacy, the one I'd been carrying since I was a kid. Kevin leaned across the table. Danny, don't listen to him. He's full of it. He's right. Dad interrupted, laughing harshly. You've been coasting your whole life, and you don't even see it. It's sad, really. I supported you, gave you every chance, and what do I get? Mediocrity. Failure. A son who thinks he's worth something. I felt my hands tremble. I've done everything I could for you. I've paid the bills when you needed help. You've done everything? You mean you've done everything I expected? Dad snapped. Do you know what real success looks like? Do you have even an ounce of initiative? No. You're weak, and everyone here can see it. Even Kevin knows it, don't you? Kevin's face darkened. Don't drag me into this, man. He's out of line. I'm stating facts, Dad said, turning his gaze toward me again. Facts that you don't want to admit. You're a disappointment, Daniel. Always have been. Always will be. I felt my chest tighten. The words cut deeper than anything else he'd ever said. I don't believe that. I've been trying my whole life. You can't just. You don't get to talk back to me. Dad snapped, slamming his hand on the table. The dishes rattled. A few people jumped in shock. You think you're entitled to respect just for showing up? You're lucky anyone can even tolerate your existence. Lucky. I wanted to stand up, to scream, to tell him he was wrong. But I felt paralyzed. My throat burned. My hand shook. I realized then that all those years of loyalty, all the sacrifices, meant nothing. Not a word of gratitude. Not a moment of recognition. Just humiliation. Kevin leaned over again, his voice low but firm. Danny, look at me. You're not what he says. You've been carrying him financially and emotionally, and he's twisting it to make you feel small. Don't let him win. I swallowed hard, trying to draw in air that seemed to have vanished. I don't know if I can. You can, Kevin said, gripping my shoulder. You just need to see him for what he is. Not a father, not a mentor, just a man, and he doesn't get to define you anymore. Dad laughed, a hollow, cruel sound. Oh, Kevin, always interfering. Typical, trying to protect him from reality. Daniel, listen to me. Your so-called friends are pitying you. Don't think this changes anything. You're weak, and weak people stay weak. I felt the sting of tears, but I blinked them back. You don't understand. I've been working hard. I've supported you. Every step of the way. He shouted, throwing his napkin onto the table. Supported me? You mean you've kept me comfortable while being a useless little boy? That's not support. That's enabling failure. I clenched my fists, my knuckles white, trying to steady myself. I can't believe you'd say that. After everything I've done. You should believe it, he said quietly, leaning closer. Because it's true. Everyone sees it. You're nothing without me. The words echoed inside me, crushing. My chest felt tight, my stomach twisted. I had no words, no defense, only disbelief, heartbreak, and shame. Kevin leaned closer again. Danny, this isn't the end. You're stronger than you think. Don't let him define you. I want to believe him. I wanted to see the truth in what he was saying. But at that moment, all I felt was the raw, searing pain of betrayal. My own father, the man I called father, had publicly humiliated me, and there was nothing I could do. I looked down at my hands, trembling, and realized something terrifying. I didn't know if I wanted to forgive him, or if I even could. The night ended, but the wound didn't. It would fester, grow, and shape everything I would become. I didn't answer Kevin's calls that night. I didn't answer anyone's. I just sat in my apartment, staring at the wall, replaying Dad's words over and over. Failure. Pathetic. Weak. Every syllable etched itself into my chest, making it hard to breathe. The next morning, Sarah from work popped by my desk, holding her coffee like she had no idea the storm brewing inside me. Hey, Daniel, are you okay? You seemed off yesterday. I forced a smile, the kind that barely holds itself together. Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired. She tilted her head. You know, if you ever want to talk. I cut her off, shaking my head. No, really. I'll be fine. Thanks. She gave me a small smile and walked away. I watched her leave and felt a pang of guilt. She was innocent, but just seeing someone cheerful made me think of Dad. His face, that smirk, the way he twisted everything I did into something worthless. I leaned back in my chair, muttering under my breath. How could he say that? After everything. Flashbacks hit me like a punch. The night I paid off his hospital bills, counting every penny from my savings, making sure he didn't have to stress. I remembered him lounging on the couch, reading the paper, barely glancing at me, and saying, "You didn't have to do that, you know." Like my sacrifices were invisible. And the loan I took to cover his credit card when he mismanaged again, the nights I skipped dinners, the weekends I worked extra shifts to keep him afloat. Invisible. Pathetic. Kevin's voice from yesterday echoed in my mind. You're stronger than you think. Strong? I didn't feel strong. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious, all at once. Rage boiled inside me, silent but insistent. What am I supposed to do now? I muttered aloud, pacing the apartment. Sit here and take it? Pretend it didn't happen? I pictured walking up to him, confronting him. No, I thought, shaking my head. Not yet. Not while I'm this raw. I need control. I need a leverage. I started scribbling in my notebook, ideas, reminders, ways to protect myself, ways to make sure I wasn't crushed again. Every line was a mix of strategy and venom, a blueprint for silent revenge. A knock at the door startled me. I opened it to find Sarah again, looking hesitant. Hey, I thought maybe we could grab lunch. You know, get your mind off things. I wanted to say yes, to have someone anchor me to normal life, but instead, I shook my head. Not today. Maybe tomorrow. She nodded slowly, concern in her eyes. If you need anything, I know. I said, my voice tight. I closed the door and leaned against it, feeling the rage flare again. I wanted to scream, to tell someone what Dad had done, but no one would understand. Not Kevin, not Sarah, not anyone. Only I could process this humiliation, and only I could figure out what to do next. I remember the night Mom left, the note she left in the drawer. Take care of him, Daniel. I had. Every penny, every late night, every sacrifice. And what had I gotten in return? Words meant to destroy me in front of everyone I knew. I can't let him do this, I whispered to myself. I won't. I imagined scenarios, small acts of retaliation. Nothing overt yet. No shouting, no explosions. Just subtle ways to reclaim my dignity. Maybe expose some truth. Maybe walk away when he least expects it. Maybe let karma do its work quietly. The thoughts made me feel alive again, focused. Rage had transformed into something sharper, more precise. Kevin had tried to warn me, but I hadn't listened fully. Now I understood what he meant. See him for what he is. Don't let him win. I sighed, running a hand over my face. I need control, I muttered. I can't let him touch me like that again. I thought of the times Dad had laughed at my mistakes, his pride wrapped around cruelty like a shield. Every sacrifice I made, Every effort to support him, he had twisted into evidence of my weakness. That pattern, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to find a way out, a way to protect myself, and maybe even turn the tables. I picked up my phone and stared at Kevin's name. Should I call him? No, not yet. I needed to think clearly, plan carefully. Emotional venting wouldn't help. Strategic thinking would. I tapped out a few notes to myself. Document everything. Protect finances. Test loyalty. Observe weakness. A soft laugh escaped me, bitter and hollow. I've spent years helping him. Years keeping him afloat. And he calls me weak. Disgusting. I glanced at the wall, imagining Dad sitting there, smug, confident, proud of himself. The thought of standing up to him, calmly, deliberately for the first time, made a flicker of satisfaction rise in me. But it was just a flicker. Not yet. For now, I would simmer in silence. Let the rage sharpen into something useful. Let the humiliation ferment turn into focus. Let the world see that I was no longer a pawn. I sank into my chair, notebook open, pen in hand, mapping out a plan. I wasn't sure where it would lead, but one thing was certain. I would never let him humiliate me like that again. Not in public, not in private, not ever. And when the time came, he would finally see the man I had become. Kevin cornered me in the parking lot after work. "Danny, what the hell are you doing?" he demanded, hands on his hips, eyes blazing. I glanced at him, hesitant. "What do you mean? You're letting him win. Every word, every insult. He's controlling you, and you just take it." I shook my head. I don't know what you want me to do. He's my father. I can't just. You can do something. Stop being passive for once. Stop letting him walk all over you." Kevin's voice cracked with frustration. "Look, I get loyalty, but this is abuse. I don't even know if I can fight him." I admitted, my throat tight. "Every time I try, I feel small, humiliated, and everyone sees it. That's because you're letting him see it." Kevin shot back. "You think strength is keeping silent?" "No, Danny. Strength is standing up, even if it hurts, even if it's messy." I swallowed, staring at the ground. "I've tried standing up. It backfires. Always." Kevin sighed and rubbed his forehead. "I've seen enough. You don't have to do it alone, but you have to decide you're done being his victim." I want to believe him, but part of me still clung to hope. Hope that Dad could change, that he'd apologize, that all the sacrifices I made mattered. Later that week, Michael pulled me aside by the coffee machine. "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" "I'm dealing with some family stuff," I muttered, taking the cup he offered. Michael nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I get it. My dad. Total control freak. I cut him off years ago. I don't let anyone treat me like that. Not even family." I blinked at him. "You just left." "Yeah. One day I realized my life wasn't mine if I stayed under his thumb. He called me ungrateful, weak, selfish. I told him, I'm taking my life back. Simple as that." I felt a pang of envy. I wish I could do that, but Dad, he's different. He's my father. Different. Michael laughed, not unkindly. "Danny, he's the same as mine. Just louder, smarter at manipulation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't excuse him. You're letting his arrogance define you, and that's on you, not him." I sipped my coffee, bitter thoughts swirling. Michael had no illusions. He had faced it head on, and here I was, still stuck, still calculating, still hoping he'd notice my sacrifices. Kevin's words echoed. "Strength is standing up, even if it hurts." I thought of Dad, his smug face, his cutting remarks, the way he made everyone else look at me like I was less. I muttered, "He's arrogant, insecure. Every attack, every humiliation, it's just him trying to feel superior. That's why he does it." Michael leaned closer. "Exactly. He needs you to feel small. That's his power. Recognize it, and the game changes. Once you see the pattern, you can respond instead of reacting." I nodded slowly. "So, I can't just be hurt anymore. I have to analyze him, see what he's doing, control it." Kevin appeared beside me suddenly. "Bingo. That's what I've been saying. You're smarter than him, Danny. You just need to stop giving him the control he craves." I rubbed my temples. It's hard, seeing him like that, Smiling when I'm humiliated, it makes me feel sick. And angry. So angry. Good, Kevin said, smirking. Anger's fuel. Don't waste it crying. Use it. Strategize. I laughed bitterly. Strategize? Against my father? Yes, he said firmly. Against the guy who's been playing you your whole life. You don't have to stoop to his level, but you need a plan. And you need allies. I glanced at Michael. You think you can help me? Michael shrugged. I can give perspective. Share what worked for me. But ultimately, you have to decide your moves. Dad can't control you if you stop giving him that power. I felt a flicker of determination. I think I understand. I need to observe. Study him. Not react, not feel small. Just watch. Plan. Kevin grinned. Finally, that's the first step. And Danny, it's not revenge for the sake of revenge. It's reclaiming your life, your dignity, your sanity. I took a deep breath. Reclaim, yes. That feels right. I can't let him break me anymore. Michael nodded. Exactly. And don't be surprised if others around you start showing their true colors. People who talk behind your back, who doubt you, they'll surface. It's part of the process. I frowned. Other betrayals? You mean besides Dad? Kevin shrugged. Life's full of them, Danny. Friends, coworkers, family, you'll see. But the key is not getting lost in the betrayal. Recognize it and adjust. I felt a weight lift slightly. Seeing Dad's arrogance, recognizing his insecurities, plotting my next steps. It was like I was finally awake. You're not just angry anymore, Kevin said. You're thinking, calculating. That's power. That's control. That's the Danny I know. I smirked faintly. I think I'm ready. Ready to stop being a pawn. Michael grinned. Good. That's exactly where you need to be. Now watch him. Observe, plan, and when the time comes, act. I nodded, feeling a strange calm settle over me. The humiliation, the heartbreak, the rage, they were still there. But they weren't controlling me. I was starting to see the pattern, understand the game, and consider my next moves carefully. For the first time, I felt the beginnings of power, and it wasn't coming from Dad. It was coming from me. I met Emma at her usual coffee spot, the one near the corner of my street. She smiled as I slid into the seat across from her. You look tense, she said. I am, I admitted, rubbing my temples. I don't know how to handle him anymore. Dad, Emma leaned forward, her green eyes sharp. Tell me, everything. No filters. I took a deep breath. He humiliated me at my birthday. Told everyone I'm a failure. Kevin tried to convince me not to let it get to me, but it did. It still does. I feel stuck. Emma's hand brushed mine. Danny, listen. You've been carrying him emotionally and financially for years. It's time you carry yourself. I know, but it's hard, I said, my voice low. I want revenge, yes, but I also want growth. Self-respect. I don't want to become like him. Emma nodded slowly. You don't have to. Revenge doesn't mean stooping to his level. It can mean reclaiming your life, quietly, deliberately. I studied her, feeling a mixture of relief and guilt. Relief because someone understood, guilt because I'd spent so long letting him dominate me. I think I'm ready to take steps to protect myself, my money, my reputation, my sanity, everything he's tried to control. Emma smiled. That's the first step. You know he won't change, right? You can't rely on him to suddenly appreciate you. I know, I said, swallowing hard, but it's still painful. Even thinking about cutting ties, even partially, makes me feel like a failure. Danny, she said softly, you're not failing. You're choosing yourself. That's strength. Her words sparked something in me. I pulled out my notebook and began listing measures. Tighten finances, monitor interactions, reduce personal exposure, document his manipulations. Emma watched silently. You're serious, she said, leaning over my shoulder. You're really planning. Yes, I muttered. I can't just stay reactive. I need control, observation, strategy. I can't let him humiliate me again. Emma's hand squeezed mine. I can help, but it has to come from you, not me. You decide the moves, you take the power. I nodded. I'm scared, I admitted. Scared that I'll fail, that he'll see through me, that I'm still weak. You're not, she said firmly. You've just been under his shadow for too long. It's time to step into your own light. And when you do, He won't know what hit him. Her confidence bolstered me. I could feel a plan forming, precise, deliberate, unlike the blind loyalty I'd carried for so long. Later that evening, Dad called. I hesitated, staring at the phone, heart hammering. What does he want now? I wondered. Daniel, his voice came through smooth but sharp. I need you to transfer the money for my meeting tomorrow. I can't handle this. You know the account. I closed my eyes and counted to 10. I'm not transferring it tonight, I said finally. There was a pause. Then his voice, incredulous. What do you mean you're not transferring it? I've asked you to do this every month. Are you trying to annoy me? I'm handling things differently now, I said, voice firmer. I'll transfer it tomorrow during the day, but not tonight. I need boundaries. Boundaries? Boundaries? Daniel, don't test me. I've supported you for years. You're ungrateful. I'm grateful, I said, keeping my tone calm. But I'm also human. I need control over my time and my finances. I won't let you manipulate me tonight. Silence. I could hear his breathing on the other end, sharp and shallow. This isn't how I raised you, he finally said. I know, I replied. And I've realized I need to grow on my own terms. Not yours. The line went dead. I exhaled slowly, my chest tight, but relieved. For the first time in years, I had said no. Not angrily, not impulsively, but deliberately. I sank into my chair, staring at the ceiling. My hand shook slightly. Emma's words echoed. You're reclaiming your life. Later, I called her. Am I? I did it. I said no. To him. I didn't react with fear. I didn't let him control me. She laughed softly, almost proud. I knew you could. How does it feel? Terrifying and liberating, I admitted. It's strange. I feel powerful but guilty too. Like I betrayed him somehow. You've done the opposite, she said firmly. You're setting boundaries. You're taking care of yourself. That's not betrayal. That's survival. I let her words sink in. Survival. That's what this was. Not revenge yet. Not confrontation yet. Just survival, dignity, and a first step toward reclaiming myself. I leaned back, notebook open, planning the next steps. Subtle changes, quiet defenses, observing Dad's patterns. Every manipulation he attempted, every word of arrogance, I would catalog, analyze, and counter in my own way. Emma smiled at me through the phone. You're thinking ahead. I like it. Just remember, Danny, don't lose yourself in strategy. Keep your humanity. That's what makes this worthwhile. I won't, I promised. I want to grow, not just retaliate. But I won't let him hurt me anymore. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying and exhilarating. I had the power to control the relationship now, to choose when to act, when to respond, and when to let the universe take its course. Tonight, I had taken the first step. I had stood up, quietly, deliberately. I had drawn a line. And for the first time, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in years, control. Dad called again that morning. I answered, forcing calm into my voice. Hello. Daniel, where's my report? I asked you to have it ready hours ago. This is unacceptable, he barked. I've completed most of it, Dad, I said slowly, but I need today to finish the final numbers accurately. I won't rush it just to satisfy impatience. A pause. Then his voice, sharp but wary. You always make excuses. Why can't you just do as I say? Because I need precision, I replied firmly. You've seen what happens when I rush. Mistakes cost more than a little delay. He grunted. Fine, but I expect it this afternoon. I hung up, feeling a small surge of control. I hadn't reacted with panic or fear. I'd maintained composure. A minor victory, but a victory nonetheless. At work, Mark, Aunt Lisa's son, wandered near my desk, smirking. Hey, Danny, he said casually. Heard some interesting things about your dad and you. Thought everyone should know. I narrowed my eyes. What are you talking about, Mark? Oh, nothing serious. Just rumors. People are talking. I clenched my jaw. Thanks for the heads up. Mark laughed lightly, clearly enjoying the discomfort he caused. Don't take it personally. Just making sure people stay informed. I returned to my work, letting my mind process. Mark thrived on tension, like Dad, but this was predictable. I reminded myself of Michael's advice. Observe, plan, don't react emotionally. Later, Sarah stopped by. Hey, Danny, are you okay? I heard a few people gossiping about your family stuff. Don't let it get to you. I shook my head, half smiling. I'm fine. I've learned to let some things slide strategically. She raised an eyebrow. Strategically? Yes, I said. Sometimes ignoring the noise is the best move. People reveal themselves when they think they're getting to you. Sarah nodded slowly, clearly impressed. Sounds like you're learning the hard way. I chuckled softly. Yeah, very hard way. Back at my desk, I reviewed Dad's recent emails, noting subtle manipulations, the way he phrased requests to guilt me. I annotated each one, documenting patterns, timing, and triggers. Observing without reacting. This was my new strategy. Kevin called during lunch. How's the battle going? I smiled faintly. Small victories. He's trying, but I'm not falling for it. Good. Any new insights? Yes, I admitted. Patterns, tendencies. I can anticipate his next move. I've also started keeping records. Not just for me, just in case he tries to twist things again. Smart, Kevin said. I like it. And how's your morale? Bittersweet, I confessed. Every win feels good, but the scars remain. The humiliation, the betrayals, they linger. You'll heal, he said, bit by bit. Just keep your focus. I nodded, returning to my files. The work, the careful analysis, gave me clarity. I felt my confidence grow, tempered by caution. Every interaction was a lesson, every challenge an opportunity to refine my defenses. That evening, Dad emailed again, a subtle jab disguised as concern. Daniel, I hope you're keeping up. It will be disappointing if your work slipped. Don't forget how important appearances are. I read it twice, then replied calmly. I am on top of my work. I will maintain standards without interference. Thank you for checking. I didn't respond with panic. I didn't apologize or explain. I simply stated the facts. Another small victory. Mark's rumors surfaced subtly at work, whispered in hallways, and dropped into email threads. I noticed, observed, but didn't confront. I let them play out, watching reactions, assessing credibility. People believed some, doubted others. I documented it all. Knowledge was power, and I was collecting every piece. Later, Sarah stopped by again. I heard someone trying to undermine you. You okay? I nodded. I'm handling it. Let people talk. Actions reveal character more than words ever will. She smiled. You're changing. I can see it. I allowed myself a faint smile, a flicker of pride. Small victories, yes, but important ones. I was regaining control, bit by bit, learning how to protect myself while staying measured. At dinner that night, Dad called again. He asked me to handle his errands, trivial tasks he phrased as urgent. I paused, recalling my first refusal from last week. I'm focusing on my priorities tonight, I said firmly. There was silence. Then, you're becoming difficult. I'm becoming deliberate, I corrected. I'm choosing my time and my energy wisely. Another victory. Not loud, not dramatic, but meaningful. My chest swelled slightly with pride. I had boundaries now. I had control. As I hung up, I reflected on the day. Bittersweet. Victories that strengthened me, but scars that reminded me why I was here. Learning, observing, surviving. I glanced at my notebook. Patterns, behaviors, manipulations. Each line a map. Each victory a stepping stone. I had begun to reclaim my life without confrontation, without fury, and yet with intent. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new manipulations, new lies. But tonight, I rested with quiet satisfaction. I was learning to navigate the battlefield Dad created, subtle, strategic, patient. Small victories, yes, but each one sharpened my intelligence and my resilience. And with each passing day, I was becoming someone he could no longer control. I never expected Kevin to lie to me. Not him. Not after everything we'd been through. It started with a phone call from Dad. His tone was casual, almost friendly. Daniel, Kevin told me some interesting things. Secrets, really. I thought you should know he's been very forthcoming. I froze. What are you talking about? Oh, just things you told him. About your finances. About your plans. He said he thought it was his duty to inform me. I felt the room tilt. Kevin wouldn't do that. He promised. I grabbed my phone and dialed him immediately. Kevin, what did you tell him? There was hesitation on the line. Danny, I didn't want to, okay? He pressured me. Pressured you? My voice rose, disbelief mixing with rage. Kevin, he's your friend too. You promised loyalty. I know. But he threatened to ruin me if I didn't cooperate. I didn't know what else to do. I paced, my hands trembling. You didn't know what else to do? You could have hung up. You could have told me. I panicked. Kevin shouted. I thought if I didn't do it, he'd take everything from me. He's dangerous, Danny. I leaned against the wall, trying to steady myself. Dangerous? That's what you tell yourself to justify betraying me. I didn't want to hurt you, he said, voice cracking. I swear, I was trapped. I shook my head, disbelief clouding my thoughts. Trapped? We've been through everything together. You've seen how he manipulates, how he abuses trust. And you just gave in. I panicked, he repeated, almost pleading now. I swallowed, fury and heartbreak battling inside me. Kevin, how long? How long have you been telling him my secrets? A few weeks, he admitted. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Just happened. I laughed bitterly, a sound that felt foreign even to me. Everything I trusted you with gone. Shared. Exposed. And for what? Protection? Kevin's voice dropped. I thought it was the only way to keep myself safe. Julia said, she said I had to be careful, that he'd destroy me if I didn't cooperate. I didn't know what to do. Julia, I spat the name like venom. Your partner. She told you to betray me. Yes. Kevin snapped. She said Dad would manipulate me, that I had to protect myself. I panicked. I didn't think about you. I thought about surviving. I sank into my chair, feeling the weight of betrayal crush me. My chest ached. Rage burned my veins. You're supposed to be my friend, my confidant, and you just handed everything to him? Kevin, we trusted each other. I know, he yelled. I know. I failed you. I didn't want to, Danny. I never wanted to. Failing isn't just a mistake, Kevin. I shouted, voice raw. It's destroying me. Destroying everything I've been trying to build. Everything I trusted. I'm sorry, he said, almost whispering now. I swear I didn't want this. I didn't want to hurt you. I ran a hand through my hair, shaking my head. Sorry doesn't fix it. Not this time. Not after everything. I don't know if I can forgive this. You have to, he said desperately. I can't lose you too. You're all I've got, Danny. I stared at him through the phone. You lost me the moment you told him. You think loyalty is optional when lives are at stake. I panicked, he said again. I was scared. Please, Danny, try to understand. Understand? I repeated bitterly. Understand what? That you abandoned me when I needed you most? That you let Dad's manipulations win? I wanted to protect us both, he said quietly. I thought maybe if I gave him some info, he'd back off. I thought I was saving you two. I let the words hang in the air. My mind raced. Betrayal wasn't just Dad's game. It had crept into the circle I trusted most. The lesson was clear. Loyalty is fragile, even among friends. Even the ones you rely on the most can break when fear takes hold. I pressed my hand to my forehead. Kevin, I don't know if I could trust you again. How do I know you won't give him more? How do I know he hasn't already used this information to manipulate my next move? He was silent. I could hear his shallow breaths, feel his guilt through the line. I'll do anything to fix this. Anything, he said finally. Anything, I echoed, voice hollow. You can't undo this. You can't take back the betrayal. You can only choose not to betray me again. But the damage? Kevin, the damage is done. I know, he whispered. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. I trusted you. I confided in you. You weren't just my friend. You were my anchor. And you let go. I panicked, he said again, but this time it felt empty, like a broken record. I rubbed my face. Julia's influence. Dad's pressure. None of it excuses this. Not for you. Not for anyone. I need time. I need space to think. I can't deal with this right now. I understand, he said quietly. Good. I replied, my voice controlled cold. Because right now, every time I think of your betrayal, it hurts more than anything Dad has ever done. And I don't know if I can forgive it. Not yet. Maybe never. The line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, chest heavy. Betrayal had found its way into the one person I thought would never fail me. The pain was sharp, more visceral than humiliation, more personal than Dad's attacks. I realized then that my circle, my sense of safety, had fractures I hadn't seen. Trust could be weaponized, loyalty exploited, and fear could override everything. The heartbreak stung, the rage burned, and yet, somewhere beneath it all, a small spark of clarity ignited. I understood the stakes now. The world wasn't just Dad against me. It was Dad and his influence and the people I thought were allies, vulnerable, fallible, fragile. I clenched my fists. This betrayal didn't end me. It sharpened me. It reminded me that vigilance was as necessary as strategy. Loyalty was a choice, trust a weapon, and betrayal an ever-present threat. And I would not be blindsided again. I slammed my laptop shut, exhaustion pressing against my chest like a weight I couldn't lift. Emails from Dad, subtle digs at work, financial requests disguised as emergencies. They never ended. I rubbed my eyes and muttered, "How does he keep finding ways to control me?" Emma's voice came over the phone. "Danny, you sound tired. Are you okay?" I hesitated. I'm my limit. He keeps pushing, manipulating. I feel like I'm drowning in his demands. Emma's voice softened. "I know, but listen, you're not drowning. You're fighting, and every time you resist, you get stronger." "I don't feel strong," I said bitterly. "I feel exhausted, emotionally drained. And every time I try to stand up, he's there, smiling, belittling, making me question myself." "Then it's time to step out of his shadow," she said firmly. "Your worth isn't tied to his approval, Danny. You have to define yourself outside of him." I stared at the ceiling, thinking of every year I'd spent catering to his whims, every late night working to cover his mistakes, every moment of humiliation. "You're right," I admitted. "I've been letting him dictate my life for too long. But it's hard to see beyond him." "Not impossible," she said. "You're learning. Every small victory, every boundary you set, it all adds up. You're building yourself, Danny. Trust that." I sighed and leaned back. I need a plan more than just survive. I need a way to respond. Strategically, emotionally, both. "You've got this," she said. "And Michael? He can help too." I called Michael immediately. "Michael, I need your perspective. I'm at a breaking point. I don't know how much more I can take." "I get it," he said quietly. "But remember, this isn't about endurance alone. You need leverage, clarity, and a plan. Don't let his manipulations define your actions. Use them to anticipate, to control the board." I nodded. "I've been documenting everything, emails, conversations, requests. But it's more than paperwork. I need to dismantle his hold over me emotionally." Michael's voice was firm. "Exactly. Observation and control. That's your edge. Every dig he makes, every subtle humiliation, you catalog, understand, and respond on your terms. Not his." I rubbed my face. "I know, but it hurts. His words, his smirks, the way he makes everyone see me as less. I feel like I've spent my whole life chasing approval that was never real." "That approval doesn't matter," Michael said. "It never did. You've been building a life outside of him, whether you realize it or not. Time to acknowledge it." I closed my eyes, and my hand brushed against a drawer I hadn't opened in years. Inside was a folded letter, yellowed with age. My father's handwriting. I hesitated. "Emma, Michael, I think I need to see this." I never opened it. Emma's voice was calm. "Maybe it's time. You might finally understand him and yourself." I unfolded the letter, my eyes scanning the lines I'd avoided for so long. "Daniel, I hope one day you understand my actions. I did what I thought necessary, but perhaps I failed to see how it would shape you." The words made my chest ache. It wasn't an apology, not really. It was an admission. He had never acted out of care, only calculation. His motivations weren't about me. They were about his pride, his image, his control. I whispered, "All these years, it was never about me. It was always about him." Emma's voice came softly through the phone. "Now you see it, Danny. You're not reacting blindly anymore. You can finally act on your terms." I folded the letter carefully, my mind racing. Every manipulation, every humiliation, every betrayal. Kevin's betrayal, Mark's whispers, they all fell into a pattern. I could see the web clearly now. I'm done reacting, I said firmly. I won't let him dictate my emotions or my actions anymore. I need to plan, calculate, and execute on my schedule. Michael chuckled lightly. Finally, that's the shift. Reactive anger keeps you stuck. Calculated action frees you. I stared at my hands. I still feel the anger, the heartbreak, but it's different now. Sharper, focused, useful. Yes, Michael agreed. Channel it. Don't let it consume you. Let it guide you. I took a deep breath and dialed Emma again. I'm going to take the next step, I said. I have to. For my life, for my sanity. I can't let him continue like this. Good, she said. And Danny, remember, this isn't just about revenge. It's about reclaiming yourself. Every action, every boundary, every refusal, it's part of building the life you deserve. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I understand. I have to be deliberate, strategic, emotional, and rational. Calculated, not reactive. The letter lay on my desk, a reminder of everything. His arrogance, his selfishness, his manipulations, but also a symbol. I had survived every calculated move of his. Now I could plan my own. I whispered to myself, I am more than his approval. I am more than his judgment. I am me. And for the first time in years, I felt a strange clarity. The exhaustion was still there, the wound still raw, but the fog had lifted. I could see the board. I could anticipate the moves. I could reclaim what was mine. Tonight, I wouldn't react. Tonight, I would plan. And when the time came, he would see that I was no longer a pawn in his game. I folded the letter, tucking it safely away. I wasn't looking for forgiveness, not from him, not from anyone. I was looking for control, dignity, and freedom. The breaking point had come, and I was no longer breaking. I was ready to stand. I sat in the office, sipping my coffee, watching emails flood my inbox. Dad's latest blunder had leaked into company communications, an error he had arrogantly refused to double-check. I didn't intervene, didn't point it out directly. I simply observed. Kevin peeked over my shoulder. You're not going to, fix it? I shook my head. No, let him make the mistake. He'll handle it, eventually, or he won't. Either way, it's his problem. You're calm, Kevin said, eyes wide. I don't think I've seen you like this since ever. I've learned patience, I said lightly. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people reveal themselves. He's arrogant. He'll do it himself. Sarah stopped by my desk. Danny, I notice how you're handling all this. Everyone's talking about your composure, your integrity. People respect it. Me too. I offered a small smile. Thank you. I've realized the less I react, the more power I retain, and the more others see the truth. Across the room, Dad's assistant rushed by, whispering frantic updates. My father, I learned, had tried to present a new project to clients without reviewing the figures. The result? Confusion, minor embarrassment, and an irritated board. Emma called just as I was leaving the office. Danny, how's it going? Interesting, I admitted. He made another mistake. I didn't intervene. I'm watching. I got to say, it feels satisfying, quietly satisfying. Emma chuckled. Karma's doing its job. And you? You're not interfering. Not a word, I said. I've let him dig his own holes for years. It's time he experiences the consequences naturally. Later, I met Michael at a small cafe. You look calmer, he said. I am, I said, sipping my drink. It's strange. I feel power, not from action, but from observation. From knowing I don't need to strike to see consequences unfold. Michael nodded. Patience is underrated, and he's arrogant. That arrogance will trip him up every time. I smiled faintly. Exactly. And when people see it, I won't have to expose him. The truth reveals itself. Kevin joined us, whispering, he's angry about yesterday's client meeting. Can't believe he trusted himself. It's poetic. I laughed softly. Poetic indeed. And I remained detached. No gloating. No obvious interference. Just observation. As the days passed, Dad's social circles began noticing cracks. At a dinner with friends, he misquoted figures he had boasted about mastering. He laughed it off, of course, but his nervous glance around the table betrayed him. I stayed silent beside him, sipping my drink, allowing others to witness the incongruence. His smirk faltered with each correction, each raised eyebrow from colleagues. Later, Emma commented, "You're watching without reacting. That's impressive. You've changed, Danny. Completely. I've learned to let the universe handle those who can't manage themselves," I said quietly. "And in the process, I protect myself. My energy isn't wasted on anger anymore." Michael added, "And that's why people notice. They see composure, integrity, patience. They see someone who doesn't need to fight to prove worth. And they respect that." I nodded. Respect. Something he tried to buy, manipulate, or coerce. And now, I watch it slip naturally for his grasp. Kevin leaned closer, whispering, "He's getting defensive. He's trying to control the narrative again, but everyone's noticing. Even Mark's whispers aren't saving him this time." I smiled faintly. Let him try. People see arrogance, pride, and mistakes. Subtle, unnoticed before, now glaring. His own actions are doing the work for me. At work, co-workers approached, offering support subtly. "Danny, your patience is remarkable," one said. "We all notice. You're steady, fair, and resilient." I appreciated the acknowledgement quietly. "Thank you. It's been a learning process." Kevin nodded toward me. And the best part? He can't manipulate this situation. No guilt, no fear, no leverage left. Sarah joined in. "It's inspiring, really. You've changed how people see you, without fighting, without drama. It's remarkable." I took a deep breath. That's the point. I don't need confrontation. I just need clarity, patience, and observation. Let him misstep. Let his arrogance reveal itself. That evening, Dad sent an email, attempting to assert authority, subtly accusing me of withholding information. I read it, sighed, and set it aside. No reaction. No reply. Let him stew in his frustration. Emma's voice came over my phone later. "So, did you respond?" "No," I said. "I'm letting the consequences unfold naturally. The more he pushes, the more obvious it becomes who he really is." "Good," she said softly. "Sometimes, not acting is the strongest move." I smiled, thinking back to every moment of manipulation, every subtle jab he had thrown my way over the years. The balance was shifting, not through direct retaliation, but through the quiet hand of consequences. Michael called before bed. "Danny, the calm before the storm is often the most powerful time. Watch, learn, plan. Let the arrogance trip him up. You'll strike at the right moment with clarity." "Understand," I said. "I've learned to see beyond immediate reactions, to anticipate, observe, and protect myself." Every misstep of his adds to the picture. Kevin texted later. "You messed up again today. People are noticing. You're untouchable right now." I allow myself a faint, private smile. Untouchable, yes, but not from luck. From patience, clarity, and a refusal to be baited. In that quiet observation, a sense of catharsis emerged. No shouting, no confrontation, just the slow unraveling of his pride and mistakes, visible to all, without my hand forcing it. I thought of the letter I had found months ago, Dad's admission of motivations. I understood him now, more clearly than ever, and that understanding gave me strength. Not anger, not blind revenge. Strength. As I closed my laptop, I realized I was no longer reactive. No longer controlled by fear, guilt, or manipulation. Dad's own arrogance, combined with patience and calculated restraint, had shifted the power. And I had nothing to prove. I would wait, observe, and act only when necessary. Karma's quiet hand was at work, and I was learning to let it unfold naturally. I asked Dad to meet me in my apartment. No interruptions, no audience, just him and me. The air was tense when he arrived, his usual smirk in place, but I could see it faltering, if only slightly. "Daniel," he said, voice light. "You sounded serious on the phone. What's this about?" I gestured for him to sit. "We need to talk." "Seriously." He sat, crossing his legs, the smirk fading into a cautious expression. "All right, I'm listening." I inhaled, steadying my voice. "Dad, I've supported you for years. Financially, emotionally, I put your needs above my own, countless times. And all I've received in return is humiliation, manipulation, and betrayal. Even Kevin, my jaw tightened. Even my closest friends have faltered because of your influence. He leaned back, brows furrowing. Daniel, you're making this sound like I'm a villain. You exaggerate. I shook my head. I don't exaggerate. You dismiss my achievements publicly. You've belittled me for years, and you've allowed others to manipulate or misrepresent me. Enough is enough. I will not tolerate it anymore. Dad's face hardened. And you think lecturing me changes anything? You think you can suddenly dictate our relationship? I don't need to dictate, I said calmly. I need boundaries, respect, recognition of the harm you've caused. And I won't compromise myself or my life for your pride ever again. He scoffed. Boundaries? Recognition? Daniel, I gave you everything. Opportunities, connections, money. And this is how you repay me. I shook my head, voice steady. Opportunities don't erase abuse. Money doesn't erase humiliation. Loyalty doesn't erase betrayal. I've learned that, Dad. And I've learned that your approval is not my measure of worth. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. And you think you're better than me now? Smarter, stronger, superior. No, I said. I think I'm different. I think I've survived your influence, your manipulation, and the betrayals that came because of it. And I'm standing here as someone who chooses self-respect over blind loyalty. He frowned, a flicker of uncertainty passing through his eyes. You've always been stubborn. You were stubborn as a child, as a teen, and now, apparently, as an adult. But do you really understand what you're saying? Yes, I replied firm. I understand exactly what I'm saying. I understand that your pride, your need for control, has cost you and me. I understand that I will no longer allow myself to be collateral damage in your pursuit of ego and image. Dad leaned back, silence hanging heavy between us. Then, unexpectedly, his voice softened, almost reluctantly. Daniel, there's something I never told you. Something I thought you should know. I raised an eyebrow, cautious. Go on. I've always feared failure, he admitted quietly. Even when I acted arrogantly, even when I humiliated you, it was fear. Fear of losing status, fear of being powerless. I wanted to protect our family's reputation, but I didn't realize. I hurt you instead. I blinked, caught off guard. The admission was small, yet shocking. So, your cruelty was fear disguised as pride? Yes, he said. And perhaps I failed you more than I protected anyone. I thought I was doing right, but I see now. I caused pain instead. I remained composed, letting his words sink in. Dad, fear is not an excuse for harm. It explains nothing. It absolves nothing. But clarifies why you acted as you did. I hear you. I understand the reasoning, even if I can't condone the actions. He looked down, shame flickering across his face. You're strong, Daniel. Stronger than I ever imagined. I don't know if I can say what I feel. I failed as a father. I softened slightly, though I remained firm. Acknowledgement is a start, Dad, but I'm not here for apologies. I'm here to tell you that I will not be manipulated, humiliated, or dismissed again. My dignity, my life, my emotional health, they're mine to protect. He swallowed, a lump in his throat. And if I wanted to make amends? I don't need amends, I said, voice steady. I need boundaries. I need recognition of your failures without expecting me to repair them for you. I need you to accept that I am not your extension, not your project, not your instrument of pride. He nodded slowly, a mix of shame and resignation in his eyes. I understand. I may never repair the past, but I hope we can build something new, something different. I let out a controlled breath. We can, but it won't be on my past sacrifices or blind loyalty. It will be on respect, honesty, and fairness. And if you can't meet that standard, then I must distance myself for my own good. A quiet moment passed. The tension remained, but a fragile clarity emerged. I felt my power not in anger or revenge, but in calm, in control, in the ability to articulate my limits without losing composure. Dad looked at me, a trace of humility flickering. You've grown beyond what I imagined. Maybe I underestimated you. Maybe I'll learn from this too. I nodded. I hope so, Dad. But my growth is my responsibility, not yours. and I will not compromise it for your ego anymore. He exhaled slowly, the last of his arrogance softening. I see that, and I accept it. Not easily, but I accept it. I stood, signaling the end of the conversation. Good. That's all I needed. Clarity, honesty, and respect. Nothing more. Nothing less. He stood as well, hesitating. Daniel, I don't know if I can undo the past, but I will try to do better. That's enough for now, I said firmly. We start from here, carefully, and with boundaries. I won't be swayed by fear, manipulation, or guilt anymore. This is the turning point, Dad. Not for me to punish, but for me to reclaim my dignity. He nodded silently. His face was a mixture of shame, anger, and reluctant acknowledgement. I felt a quiet satisfaction, not from triumph, but from composure. The confrontation ended, but my growth had solidified. For the first time in years, I walked away feeling whole. Calm, composed, resilient, my dignity restored. I noticed it almost immediately. Dad's arrogance, once a shield, was now his weakness. Invitations he had taken for granted were rescinded quietly. Colleagues began questioning his decisions, and even longtime friends hesitated before speaking with him. Karma, subtle but inevitable, was unfolding. Kevin called me first thing in the morning. Danny, you were right. People are noticing. He's losing ground socially. He can't manipulate everyone anymore. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my coffee. I told you patience works better than reaction. Letting him reveal himself was enough. No interference necessary. I still feel guilty, Kevin admitted. I betrayed you. I should have supported you more. You made mistakes, yes, I said calmly. But what matters now is what you choose to do going forward. Loyalty can be rebuilt, but only through trust and consistency. Emma joined me for lunch later. I can see the shift in you, she said, smiling. You're calmer, more deliberate. It suits you. How are you holding up emotionally? I shrugged, letting a small smile escape. Better. Less rage, more clarity. I've reclaimed control. That feels good. Finally. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. And you've earned this, Danny. You've stood up, set boundaries, and protected yourself. I'm proud of you. I nodded. It hasn't been easy. Watching Dad's arrogance crumble quietly. It's satisfying, yes, but it's also a reminder of how much power I gave away before. I won't make that mistake again. Later that week, I met Michael for a walk. So, the aftermath begins, he said lightly. Yes, I replied. And it's fascinating. People are recalibrating around him. Some still cling to him out of habit, but others see the cracks he tried so hard to hide. Michael laughed. It's poetic. All his manipulations come back subtly, without you lifting a finger. I nodded. I've learned so much about patience, observation, and emotional control. About loyalty, too. Who deserves it and who doesn't. I've also learned that boundaries are more powerful than confrontation. Sometimes. He smiled. Exactly. You've become the person you were meant to be, not a reflection of his ego. A few days later, I received a message from Julia, Kevin's partner. Danny, I'm sorry for everything. I was wrong to encourage Kevin. We see now the damage it caused. I stared at the screen. Acknowledgement, I muttered aloud even. Better late than never. But reconciliation isn't always necessary. Recognition suffices. I replied simply, thank you for acknowledging it. That is enough. Emma and I spent the evening reviewing my finances and professional plans. You're more independent now than ever, she said. Dad can't touch your career, your savings, or your reputation anymore. You've insulated yourself completely. Feels good, I admitted. But more than that, it feels empowering. I'm no longer defined by someone else's approval. I've built my life deliberately, without fear of interference. Kevin stopped by later, tentative but hopeful. Danny, I want to earn back your trust. I know it will take time, but I want to be part of your life again in the right way. I studied him, searching for sincerity. I'll allow it, Kevin. Slowly, but only if consistency follows words. Trust is rebuilt through actions, not promises. He nodded eagerly. Understood. I won't fail again. At work, coworkers approached me subtly, acknowledging my composure and reliability. Danny, Sarah said quietly. People respect how you handled the situation. You didn't lash out. You observed. And now, everyone sees your strength. I smiled faintly. Thank you, Sarah. It's been a learning process. I had to see clearly, act deliberately, and maintain boundaries. That's what made the difference. Even minor friends I had drifted from, Mark among them, attempted small gestures of reconciliation. I politely declined, reinforcing the distance. Some relationships aren't worth restoring. I reflected quietly that evening. Loyalty isn't blind. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned. Patience, observation, and emotional control often outweigh confrontation. And boundaries, once established, are more powerful than approval. Emma sat beside me, reading my expression. You're thinking about him again, she said softly. About Dad? I asked. Yes, she replied. But I see it differently in you now. Not anger, not resentment, reflection. Insight. You've grown because of it, not trapped by it. I nodded. It's strange. The person I had been, reactive, desperate for approval, feels like someone else entirely. I've rebuilt myself emotionally, professionally, and socially. And I've learned the hard truths about human fragility and trust. Michael joined us later for coffee. And your father? He asked gently. I took a breath. He's paying the price of his actions. Not through my intervention, but naturally. Socially, emotionally, subtle consequences. And I feel neither triumph nor gloating. Just peace. Satisfaction that comes from knowing I'm no longer vulnerable to him. Kevin raised an eyebrow. Peace, that's new for you. Yes, I said. It is. I've earned it. And I appreciate it deeply. Every betrayal, every challenge, every manipulation, each moment taught me resilience, self-respect, and discernment. Emma smiled, squeezing my hand. You've come full circle, Danny. From someone manipulated to someone who controls their life and emotions. And it's beautiful to witness. I nodded, the weight of past burdens lifting. It's not just about surviving him. It's about reclaiming myself and knowing who deserves my loyalty, my attention, my trust. That clarity is more valuable than anything he could have taken from me. The evening closed with quiet conversation, laughter, and subtle moments of reflection. I felt grounded, supported, and at peace. Social fractures caused by Dad's past behavior healed around me naturally, while my true connection solidified. And for the first time in years, I felt fully free. I walked through the apartment, touching objects that had once held weight, now stripped of meaning. Dad's gifts, old mementos of his pride masquerading as generosity, sat untouched for years. Today, I decided it was time. Kevin leaned against the doorway. You're really going through with this? I held up a delicate, silver watch he had given me for graduation. Yes, these things meant something when I let them define me. Now, they're just objects, memories of control I no longer accept. Emma joined us, carrying a box of old letters. Danny, are you sure you want to sell these? I nodded, placing the watch and letters into the box. I'm sure. It's not about money. It's about reclaiming my space, my life, my dignity. Every item I release is one less chain. Kevin shook his head, but he smiled. I get it. It's symbolic but powerful. You're really done with him, aren't you? I am, I said firmly. Done with seeking his approval, done with excuses for his behavior, done with letting his past define me. Emma set the letters down. And yet, you've grown from it. You've built resilience, boundaries, and independence. You've learned what loyalty really means. Yes, I said, and what it doesn't mean. Blind devotion can be dangerous. I've learned to observe, to wait, to protect myself first. That's my true victory. Kevin leaned closer, curiosity flickering. Does it hurt, though? Letting go of him completely. I paused, folding my hands over the box. It hurts, yes, but it's different now. The pain is mine, not imposed. It's a choice I make to preserve myself. For years, I let him dictate my emotions. No longer. Emma smiled softly. That's why this moment is important. It's the boundary you've drawn permanently. You've metaphorically sat down forever. No more chasing his approval. I nodded. Exactly. And that doesn't mean I've become cold. I feel the hurt, the betrayal, the memories. But I choose to let them exist without letting them control me. Kevin raised an eyebrow. And Dad? How do you manage that? I exhaled slowly. I watch him from a distance now. Not with malice. Not with expectation. Karma unfolds subtly, naturally. Socially, emotionally, financially, his arrogance, his manipulations, his pride, they're catching up. I don't intervene. I observe, and I remain untouched by it. Emma added, and it's fascinating, isn't it? You've transformed past wounds into wisdom and strength. It is, I said quietly. I've become strategic, composed, and grounded. I no longer react impulsively. I don't chase validation. I create it internally. Kevin looked around the room. And the people around you? I smiled faintly. Some friendships deepened. Kevin, Emma, Michael, those who respected my patience, my integrity, my boundaries, they remained. Others faded naturally, including toxic influences. Distance is as much a choice as engagement. Emma reached for my hand. And that's the essence of your transformation. You've learned to discern, to protect yourself emotionally, and to value genuine connection. I lifted the box of letters, walking to the front door. Time to let go. Selling them isn't erasing memories. It's reclaiming agency. Every item, every token, every memory tied to his control I release. Not out of hatred, but out of liberation. Kevin opened the door. You're really standing by your principles, aren't you? I am, I said, stepping outside. And it feels peaceful. Haunting, yes, because of the memories. But peaceful. Finally. Emma smiled. You sat down forever, Danny. And in doing so, you've truly stood up for yourself. I looked back once at the apartment, the symbols of a past life I no longer needed. I hope he sees it, one day, I admitted quietly, not to validate me, but to recognize the truth he tried to hide from himself and from others. Kevin put a hand on my shoulder. And what about you? What's next? I exhaled, a mixture of relief and clarity washing over me. I continue my life on my terms. I nurture relationships that matter. I maintain my boundaries. I grow emotionally, professionally, personally. I live deliberately, without fear of manipulation or shame. Emma added softly, and you'll carry the lessons forward. Betrayal, resilience, patience, they've shaped you, but they won't define you. I know, I said. I've learned that karma isn't my responsibility. It's natural. My responsibility is my own growth and integrity. That's where my power lies. Kevin nodded. And that's why you're untouchable now. Not because of revenge, but because of wisdom and control. I paused, letting the words sink in. I've transformed the emotional weight of betrayal into something constructive. Every decision, every act, every boundary reinforces my self-respect. And that's more satisfying than any retaliation could ever be. Emma smiled, eyes glinting. You've become the person you were always meant to be, Danny. Calm, composed, self-aware. Free. I nodded, looking at the horizon. Free. And that's my final act. No more chasing. No more appeasing. No more hiding from pain. I've sat down forever, not in defeat, but in peace. I've reclaimed myself. Kevin glanced at me quietly. It's powerful. Honestly, I let out a long breath, the city noise around us fading. It's not about others' recognition. It's about internal clarity, about knowing I've done right by myself. That's the ultimate justice, the ultimate closure. Emma squeezed my hand, and with that, you move forward fully. I smiled faintly, the weight lifting further. Yes, forward. Stronger, wiser, and unbound. I've sat down forever, and in doing so, I finally stand.